If I told you that in just 90 days you could become an entirely different person, not in dreams, not in words, but in every action, every decision, every glance, would you believe it? I'm not selling you a dream. I'm showing you a way out, a gateway to a version of yourself that until now you've never been disciplined enough to reach. And everything begins with a single decision. Do you dare to take this journey? The one hearing this, surrounded by unfinished goals, abandoned plans, and days spent looping in dull routines. 90 days isn't a long time, but if you truly commit, it's enough to shatter the outdated version of yourself that's been holding you back. The one that loves to procrastinate, loves to blame, loves to feel busy without producing real results. If you've ever felt something inside you wanting to break free but never quite could, this is your moment to break through. Not with others, with yourself. Dare to enter a different way of living, where you no longer repeat the same habits, no longer chase feelings, no longer live in someday, but shift entirely into now. How many times have you made promises to yourself from the start of the year, from the start of the week, from tomorrow, from when things calm down? How many times have you started but never finished? How many times have you written down your goals but never followed through? How many times have you set an early alarm only to hit snooze again? You're not lacking motivation, you're lacking an irreversible decision. Not the kind that says, let's see how it goes. Not, I'll continue if it works out. I'm talking about a decision with no return. A choice that forces you to grow. No excuses, no escape, no one behind you pushing. You alone must step forward. And I say this with all the blunt honesty you need to hear. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to do the work for you. No one will walk the path in your place. If you keep living with the mindset of waiting until it's the right time, you'll die waiting. Waiting until you have time. Waiting until things get better. Trust me, if you can't act in chaos, you'll never act in calm, because by then you'll have lost your ability to resist. You'll become someone who survives, not someone who rises. So these 90 days are not a game. They are a battle between two versions inside you. One is the current you, the excuse maker, the procrastinator, the comfort seeker. The other is who you could become. Braver, deeper, sharper, more dangerous. And the only thing separating them is a decision. You won't feel ready. No one ever feels ready when stepping out of their comfort zone. You won't feel excited every day. No one is ever thrilled while tearing down their old identity. But you will feel the silence inside you gaining weight, the discipline taking root, the belief in yourself starting to rise, not from results, but from relentless pursuit. Every day you keep a promise to yourself is a day you rebuild your identity. Every right action, no matter how small, is a brick laid in the foundation of your new self. And after 90 days, when you look back, you won't just see change. You'll see rebirth. But I can't do this for you. I can only ask the question, and you must be the one to answer. Do you dare? Identity is not something you are born with. It is something you program. You're not born strong, disciplined, or determined. You become that person day by day through what you repeat. And if you want to become the best version of yourself, you don't need to wait for motivation. You need to understand how your brain works. Every choice you make, no matter how big or small, leaves a trace in your nervous system. One time you hit the snooze button, your brain records it. One time you say you'll do something but skip it, your brain records that too. But every time you do the right thing, even if it's just reading 5 pages, cleaning your desk, or working out for 20 minutes instead of 60, your brain still registers it as a small win. And if you repeat it long enough, your brain no longer sees it as temporary behavior. It sees it as you. Now, this isn't inspiration, it's neuroscience. Your brain operates on the principle that what is repeated gets reinforced. What is not reinforced gets eliminated. That means you don't need to change completely overnight. You just need to begin building new loops, intentional, disciplined, and time-bound. 90 days is the ideal threshold because it's long enough to rewire habits, strong enough to rewrite an identity system. If you can wake up early for 90 days, your brain will stop asking, should I get up early today? And will default to, I am someone who wakes up early. If you can exercise for 90 days, your brain will no longer resist movement, but will accept it as a non-negotiable part of the day. And if you can complete your most important task every morning for 90 days, You'll no longer be someone who starts strong but fizzles out. You'll be someone who acts regardless of mood. In other words, identity doesn't change through willpower, it changes through evidence. Your brain doesn't care who you say you are, it only cares how you behave. You can tell yourself 1,000 times, I'm going to be disciplined, but only when you act like a disciplined person day after day, without interruption, will your brain accept that statement as truth. This is why 90 days can change the entire trajectory of your life. Because if you act with consistency for 90 days, you're no longer trying to become someone, you are that person. And you need to remember this. The brain doesn't distinguish between big or small actions. It only records consistency. A day doesn't need to be perfect, but a chain of steady, unbroken days, that's what builds power. Tiny changes compounded long enough create breakthroughs even you didn't expect, because identity doesn't show up after you achieve something. It shows up before success, before compliments, before anyone believes you can, because that quiet belief in your own ability to keep promises to yourself, that's the root of self-respect. And self-respect is the most solid foundation from which you can pursue anything to the end. Imagine living 90 straight days, where every action you take is a silent declaration, this is who I am. No need for loud statements, no need to prove anything to anyone. Just repeat, right? Enough. Consistently. You don't need to tell the world you're changing. Your brain knows. Your body feels it. The energy you emit will naturally shift the air around you. And then something interesting happens. People who once knew you won't understand why you seem different. This is kind of the they'll just sense something has quietly moved, subtly but powerfully. And they'll start looking at you differently, not because you tried to impress them, but because you've stepped into a new layer of your being. No more acting, no more performing well, just becoming real. A new identity isn't something you wish for, it's something you build, not with inspiration, but with small actions repeated without stopping. 90 days. 90 chances to rewrite the person you'll live with for the rest of your life. And I ask you, are you ready? No real transformation ever happens inside a comfort zone. Every genuine breakthrough walks through pain. Not physical pain, but something deeper. The pain of resisting yourself, of pushing back against the instinct to procrastinate, against the voices in your head that keep telling you to stop. The truth is, you will feel tired, you will feel doubtful. There will be mornings when you wake up with a heavy body, an empty mind, and a discouraged heart. And in those moments, everything inside you will beg for rest, to go back to what's familiar, to find a justifiable reason not to continue. But it is in that exact moment, the one when you most want to quit, that the transformation begins. You need to understand, pain is not the wrong signal. It is proof that you're nearing the growth zone. Just like a muscle only grows when it's stretched, you cannot expand your inner strength without friction. You don't need to avoid resistance. You need to learn how to move through it. You need to accept that on this journey, there will be days that feel unproductive, meaningless, and unclear. But you don't need clarity to act. You need consistency, because progress isn't measured by how you feel. It's measured by how consistently you act, no matter your mood. Most people don't fall because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity. They fall because they can't make it through the first phase of pain, the one where there are no results, no motivation, nothing that seems worth it. They give up before the transformation even has a chance to begin. They retreat right when the body starts to adapt, when the mind begins to reprogram. And because of that, they never cross the line between trying and becoming. If you want to be different, you must do the opposite of the crowd. When they stop, you continue. When they complain, you stay quiet. When they doubt, you focus. Because you understand that pain is a companion. It's not here to block you, it's here to test your worthiness. It asks you, how serious are you? And every time you move forward, instead of stepping back, you answer, I'm not here to try, I'm here to finish. And let me say this once, crystal clear. Repetition inside pain is what builds grit. An easy task done repeatedly won't change you. Only when you keep your word to yourself on the worst days do you begin to lay the solid foundation for a new identity, because it's in resistance that you train endurance. It's in chaos that you learn focus, and it's in exhaustion that you discover your real, untapped strength. You won't hear applause. No one will be standing beside you cheering. There will be no spotlight, but that's exactly why the reward is deeply personal. It's the quiet pride, the knowing that I overcame what used to defeat me. Not everyone will understand this kind of victory, but you do, because you lived through it. You walked through resistance and didn't back down. And that makes you a different kind of person, someone who doesn't need the world's approval, just their own alignment. You don't need to avoid pain. You need to walk straight into it, keep moving with steady steps without wavering, and one day you realize the heaviness has turned into habit, the resistance has transformed into drive. What once felt unbearable is now a familiar space, the environment where you grow the strongest. That's when you understand. You're no longer trying, you've become. And it all starts with one choice. Don't retreat when it's hard. Don't stop when it hurts. Because, if you make it through, you won't just change the outcome, you'll change the very definition of who you are. No transformation ever happens in vagueness. Real change requires structure, a solid framework to resist laziness, chaos, and emotional fluctuations. You can't build a new self on the soft ground of fleeting inspiration. You need 4 pillars, 4 non-negotiable principles, 4 essential components of the 90-day system. If you can hold all 4 steady, nothing can knock you off course. Each pillar not only creates new behaviors, but also reshapes your entire mental framework, your energy field, and your sense of purpose. Look closely. This is the blueprint to restructure your entire being. The first pillar is the mind. Without sharp thinking, you can't make wise choices. Without self-directed thinking, you'll be led by the noise outside. Every day, you will dedicate 1 hour solely to feeding your mind with high-quality input. Reading selectively, writing deeply, documenting your goals, questions, and growing insights. This is not smart entertainment. This is a system upgrade for your life. Most people run on outdated data, unconscious beliefs, things they heard somewhere, not you. You will reload your entire operating system with intentional, in-depth information. 1 hour a day, as consistent as brushing your teeth, will change how you see the world, and more importantly, how you see yourself. The second pillar is the body. Your body is not just a vehicle to live in, it's the foundation for mastering yourself. If the body is weak, the mind will be weary. If energy is low, you'll have nothing to drive your goals. That's why every day you will move your body for at least 30 minutes. No fancy equipment, no expensive gyms, just commit to sweat, run, do push-ups, jump rope, climb stairs. Anything that makes your heart race, your breath quicken, and tells your body, I'm alive. Every drop of sweat not only flushes toxins from your system, but also cleanses excuses from your mind. Training is not for a beautiful figure. It's so your body becomes a powerful ally to your mind. When your body is strong, you can handle long days, pressure situations, and tough decisions without collapsing. The third pillar is purpose. If you don't live for something greater than yourself, you'll be easily consumed by petty distractions. Every day, you'll dedicate 90 minutes with no interruptions, no notifications, no phone checks to work on a single task that holds long-term meaning. If you already know your purpose, this is the time to build it, brick, brick. If you don't, then those 90 minutes are your time to find it. Read, write, experiment, learn, but don't let this time pass passively. This is not extra work. This is your core time. And here's the truth. Most people who never change are the ones who've never given their goal 90 minutes a day. You can't demand big results from small investments, but if you protect those 90 minutes daily for 90 days straight, you'll unlock a level of focus and productivity you once believed only geniuses possess. The fourth pillar is stillness. You may have sharp knowledge, a strong body, and a grand mission, but if your mind is constantly strained, you'll never reach clarity. Stillness is the space where you sort your inner data, renew your energy, and hear your true inner voice. Every day, set aside 10 to 20 minutes, no phone, no music, no images, just to sit still, breathe steadily, and observe. Don't try to meditate. Don't stress about doing it right. Just be present. Because it's in those quiet moments that you begin to sense what's real in you, what's an old pattern to release, and what's a calling to follow. Stillness is not a waste of time. It's where judgment is restored. It's the root of decisiveness. It's the trait all highly successful people have, but rarely talk about. These 4 pillars aren't nice-to-haves. They are the survival structure for the superior version of you. If you build all 4, you won't just change habits, you will change the entire operating system. And when the system changes, you don't need to force anything. You'll live differently by default. This is not a temporary setup. This is a living model. And if you truly commit, you won't need anyone to monitor you, no one to remind you. You'll know how to maintain it yourself because you'll have felt the deep value it brings. And once you've tasted what it feels like to truly own yourself, you'll never want to go back to being a slave to your emotions again. Every major change faces resistance, not from the outside, but from within you. Your brain will try to bargain. It will whisper that you've done enough, that today you're too tired, that skipping once won't matter. And the moment you give in just once, the new identity you're trying to build begins to crack. You might be smart, hardworking, and determined, but if you don't have one ultimate internal rule, no negotiation, you'll always be pulled back, not by others, but by yourself. In those moments when being lenient feels reasonable, the no negotiation rule isn't about rigidity, it's a form of liberation. Because when you no longer have to decide each day whether or not to follow through on your commitments, you save precious energy that would otherwise be drained by pointless internal debates. You don't ask, should I work out today? Should I wake up early? Can I move this to tomorrow? All those questions disappear when you choose to live by this rule. You don't wait for inspiration. You don't need motivation. You just act, regardless of mood, weather, or circumstance. No negotiation also means you're not allowed to adjust your standards based on how you feel. When you're energized, you work seriously. When you're tired, you let yourself slack off. That's not discipline. That's emotional reactivity. And if you keep living based on emotion, your results will always fluctuate. No stability, no accumulation, no real evolution. On the other hand, if you commit unwaveringly, you're sending a powerful message to your brain. My word has weight. And once the brain accepts that, the rest of your behaviors begin to align naturally. People don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack unconditional commitment. They know what they should do. They even promise to do it. But they always include a parentheses, unless I'm tired, unless today's too busy, unless I don't feel like it. And they don't realize that every time they allow themselves to break the rule, they're programming a dangerous signal into the brain. Commitment is flexible. From that moment, their identity begins to erode, not in one day, but through tiny, invisible cracks that eventually break the entire structure. You apply the no negotiation rule, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. If you miss a workout, you don't let it slide, you double it the next day. If you oversleep, you don't complain or blame, you adjust the alarm, take responsibility, and continue. No excuses, no blame, no victim mindset. Every time you do the right thing when you don't feel like it, you're teaching your brain a lesson. I don't live by emotion, I live by standard. No, negotiation doesn't mean cruelty, it means self-respect. When you honor your own commitments, you stop hurting yourself with broken promises, and you'll realize pride doesn't come from grand achievements. It comes from those quiet moments when you keep your word, when no one's watching, no one's applauding, no one even knows. That's the kind of growth no one can give you. You have to earn it. And the reward isn't the admiration in someone else's eyes. It's the steadiness in your own eyes every morning in the mirror. 90 days of no negotiation won't just change your results. It will change you at the deepest level. From someone who makes promises to someone who delivers, from someone who caves to emotions to someone who stands firm through passing feelings, from someone who asks for more time to someone who is right on time. You'll no longer depend on reminders, encouragement, or supervision. You'll act because you become the kind of person who doesn't need a reason. That person is you. And you'll have built them through every single moment you refuse to bargain with ease. Every time you chose to do what's right when what's wrong was tempting. Every time you chose to uphold the no negotiation rule, not as an option, but as a way of life, realize it's not enough to do more of the right things. You must also ruthlessly remove the wrong ones. No one can build a new version of themselves while still living among old habits, old environments, and old mindsets. True change doesn't start with what you add to your life, but with what you dare to cut. Intentional simplicity is not loss. It's how you create space for what truly matters to enter. Not everything deserves a place in your schedule, your mind, or your living space. And for the next 90 days, you must become ruthless in your selection. The first thing to cut: worthless content. Every time you scroll your phone to watch something for fun, you're stripping yourself of deep focus. You're training your brain to respond to short bursts of stimulation instead of long-term thinking. And then you wonder why you can't sit still to read, write, or work deeply for 90 minutes, because you've wired your mind to think in scattered fragments. To reclaim your sharpness, you must do the opposite of the masses. Withdraw from instant gratification, delete unnecessary apps, turn off notifications, keep your phone out of reach while working. You don't need to know everything that's happening. You only need to know what's truly building you. Next, people. Some relationships exist only because of history, not value. Some people pull you down, but you keep them around out of politeness. If someone doesn't help you become clearer, deeper, more disciplined, you don't need them in these 90 days. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're entering a phase that demands total focus. Every time you waste energy on a meaningless conversation, you deplete the energy meant to serve a greater goal. You cannot elevate your standards while allowing negativity in your energy field. Be polite but firm. Be gentle but clear. No one is responsible for your results but you, so no one has the right to delay your journey simply because of familiarity. Alcohol, addictive entertainment, temporary stress relief habits, all the things that help you relax in the moment but slow you down long term, they must be questioned. Be honest. Does the thing you're using to unwind actually make you stronger tomorrow? Or does it just numb your willpower and lull you into a false comfort? If something causes you to lose control, to delay the important, to say, I'll do it tomorrow more than I'll do it now, then it's not entertainment. It's resistance. And for these 90 days, you're not allowed to carry resistance in your living space. A messy desk, a cluttered room, a bed that doubles as your office, every small detail quietly affects how you act. You cannot have clarity in a chaotic space. Look at everything you interact with daily, your computer screen, your workspace, your morning routine. Every element must be redesigned with one question in mind. Does this serve the version of me I'm building? If not, remove it. If yes, reinforce it. You're not just building yourself, you're redesigning your entire environment to protect your growth from distraction. Caring isn't asceticism, it's strategy. It's how you channel all your resources, time, energy, focus, toward the one thing that deserves it, the superior self waiting for you to arrive. Everything you eliminate will make your steps lighter, your mind clearer, and your path straighter. Don't fear missing out. Fear living a life full of meaningless things, because you can't become extraordinary while holding on to everything that made you average. And if you're truly ready to rise, start with this one act. Cut what no longer serves you. No delay, no doubt, no negotiation. Don't trust willpower. Don't rely on inspiration. And don't expect to wake up every day feeling excited and full of energy. That won't happen. And you don't need it to succeed. What you need is a system. A carefully designed mechanism that keeps you moving forward even on days when your mood hits rock bottom, because no one sustains long-term consistency on emotion alone. Only a system makes success inevitable. Start with the simplest thing. How does your morning begin? Do you jump up, reach for your phone, and let notifications pull you into someone else's life? Or do you wake up without direction, without a plan, letting the day flow with your emotions? If so, you're letting the day control you instead of you controlling the day. Your morning is where you reprogram the operating system for your entire day. And if you don't set a fixed ritual, you'll get swept away by randomness. An effective system always starts with an unchanging morning ritual. It doesn't need to be long, just precise. Wake up on time, no phone, drink water, light movement, read 5 pages, write down 3 priorities. Each step acts as a command for your nervous system to obey. With enough repetition, your body stops thinking. It simply runs. Next is your work structure. You can't expect a productive day if you're constantly deciding what to do next. Too many decisions lead to fatigue, and once your brain is tired, it chooses the easy way, which is procrastination. Break your day into clear blocks: deep work, admin tasks, short breaks. Most importantly, dedicate 90 minutes daily to the one thing that creates breakthroughs, your long-term goal. No messages, no open browser tabs, no multitasking, one task, one quiet space, one sacred time block. You don't need to finish your life's work in 90 days. You just need to honor this work block daily. That's how you build an empire, not with burst, but with precision. A system also means tracking progress. If you don't measure it, you'll think you're doing better than you are. Your brain tends to forget the times you quit and exaggerate the times you stay disciplined. That's why you must record daily without fail. Tick off your completed morning steps. Check a box if you completed deep work. Note down how many minutes you exercised. Seeing a chain of completed days builds motivation without effort. It's driven by real data. A 7-day streak makes you hesitate before breaking it. A habit clearly visible on a wall makes it hard to return to randomness. Then comes your evening. Don't let it pass randomly. Close the day like shutting down a system. After operations, write down what you accomplished, what you need to improve, what you'll do tomorrow. Power off all devices an hour before sleep. Let your mind know it's time to switch modes. When you do this nightly, you're not just protecting your sleep. You're setting the mental foundation to start tomorrow with intention, not be dragged by chaos. A system is not a prison, it's a freedom machine. Because once it's smartly configured, you don't need to make decisions every minute. You don't need to try every day. Everything is pre-programmed. All you have to do is show up on time, the right way, with the right mindset. This doesn't make you rigid, it makes you unshakable. You don't need to work harder, you need to work smarter. And smart doesn't mean calculating endlessly. It means designing an automated system that pulls you forward even when you're tired, bored, or uninspired. When the system runs long enough, you'll stop thinking, I have to try harder to live better. You'll just live at that standard, as if there were no other option. Because when your system is strong, your new identity no longer needs effort to sustain. It runs on its own as a new standard of life, a level that can't be negotiated, a bar that can't be lowered. And when you live in that system long enough, you won't need to convince anyone you've changed. Your consistency will speak for itself. Every transformation journey comes with its walls. Invisible cliffs that block millions from moving forward. Not because they are weak, but because they don't realize that pain, boredom, and feeling of going nowhere are essential parts of the process. On the 90-day journey, you will hit 3 major walls. Each one has a different face, a unique form of resistance. But if you know ahead of time, you won't be surprised. If you recognize them, you won't stop. Because the very moment you break through the wall is where your new identity begins to take shape. The first wall appears early, around day 7 to day 10. This is the point where you fall out of the honeymoon phase with change. In the beginning, you're excited, you feel motivated, you believe you're already different, but then your body starts reacting. Fatigue shows up, your brain begins to bargain. It's okay to skip just one day. This was just a trial, no need to push. Everything in you will beg you to return to your comfort zone, not because you're weak, but because you're brushing against the limits of the old structure, the one that has held you back for years. This is where most people quit, not because they can't, but because they weren't mentally prepared for discomfort. The feeling of I don't want to is not a red flag. It's a signal that you're on the right path. And the more you keep walking when everything screams at you to stop, the more you separate from the old identity trying to keep you stuck. Second will arise more silently. Around day 30, it doesn't come with pain, but with boredom. Everything starts to feel routine, maybe too routine. No exciting results to show off. No one asking how it's going. The actions you repeat begin to lose their freshness, and in this monotony, doubt creeps in. Am I really making progress? Maybe I should try something else. This is when you're most vulnerable, because while you think you're stagnant, real changes are quietly accumulating. Your brain is being rewired. Your body is adapting. Your mindset is being restructured. But because you can't see it, you assume nothing's happening. Most people drop out here, not from exhaustion, but from doubt. Not because they've lost, but because they turned around too soon. If you can keep going without needing applause, without needing validation, without needing to prove anything, you will be among the rare few who make it past where most give up. The final wall and the strongest usually appears around day 60, but it doesn't show up as a wall anymore. It shows up as a shift. Because if you've made it through the first 2, you'll begin to sense a new stillness, stability. You're no longer struggling. Your actions start to feel automatic. Waking up early, working out, deep work, journaling, these things are no longer effort. They're part of who you are. And then a different voice arises in your head. I've made it. Maybe this is enough. Maybe I can slow down. This is when you face the choice, maintain the pace and keep evolving, or start easing off because you think you're good enough. This complacency has destroyed the very systems people just finished building. You don't need to force yourself, but you must understand identity isn't sealed in a single moment. It must be stabilized through a full cycle. These 90 days aren't for testing. They are for irreversible transformation. If you push through all three walls, you won't just get results. You'll become a new version of yourself, one that can't go back, not because you're forcing the rhythm, but because you've become the rhythm. Your new identity doesn't need maintenance. It is you. And from that point forward, doing the right thing is no longer effort, it's habit, it's nature, it's your standard. And no wall that comes next will ever be strong enough to stop you again. Is because you haven't just learned how to break through walls, you've learned how to build bridges through every old limit. There is a type of choice you cannot undo. Once you make it, you are no longer who you were. It's not a decision to try, not a let's see how it goes option. It's a choice that seals off every exit, a commitment executed not through words, but through relentless action. Even when no one's watching, even when no one's cheering. If you truly want to change, you must make this kind of choice. The choice not to go back, not out of pride, not to prove something, but because you know exactly what's behind you. The old self that kept you stuck for far too long, and you're too exhausted to live that loop even one more time. You may feel afraid. That's a good sign. Fear means you're facing a decision big enough to change your life. No one fears a temporary decision. You only feel anxiety when you know there's no escape this time. You'll either move forward or you'll have to face the truth that you were never truly serious about yourself. The only real difference between those who progress and those who stay stuck isn't motivation. It's what they do when there's no way back. No backup plan, everything narrowed to one path. Either you rise or you let yourself down again. For the next 90 days, you must live as if going back is not an option. Imagine you've burned every bridge behind you. Imagine you have no other choice but to move forward. Every wave of fatigue is temporary. Every doubt is just an echo from your old identity. The only thing keeping you on track is your loyalty to the choice you've made. You don't need countless decisions. You just need one, but it must be non-negotiable. No edits, no flexibility, no adjustments based on how you feel. And at some point, you'll hear that familiar voice. What's one day off? It's okay to pause. You tried hard already. That's when you must remember this line. I said 90, not 9. Not 9 days of effort followed by retreat into old habits. Not a few weeks of consistency followed by giving up. You are not completing a short-term challenge. You are reprogramming your identity. Any delay, even the smallest, is a cut into the foundation of the self you're rebuilding. You think it's harmless. Your brain doesn't. It's watching. And if you allow even one slip, it will reopen that old door and pull you back into the version of you that's disappointed you too many times before. Once you've chosen to live by a higher standard, you can't return to mediocrity. Once you've tasted self-mastery, laziness becomes intolerable. Once you've seen yourself keep promises day after day, you can no longer look in the mirror and accept betrayal. That's why you must guard this choice like it's the last foundation you've got. Wake up each morning not asking, should I do it today, but stating, this is what I chose. No new reason, no spark, just the same direction carried forward. When you live as if there's no going back, every action gains weight. And every habit you uphold stops being a task. It becomes a declaration of identity. You don't act to feel good. You act because that's who you are. You no longer think about how to stay consistent. Consistency isn't something you force. It becomes your default operating mode. And this very inflexibility is what gives birth to the greatest freedom. Freedom from wavering, from internal negotiation, from the fatigue of always having to try to be better. Don't go back. Not because you're moving fast, but because there's nothing worth returning to. Everything familiar back there is what once trapped you. The choice you're holding on to is not a one-time decision. It's a decision you live in day after day. And if you keep holding it, no matter what happens, you will become someone your past self never dared to imagine. Someone who made an irreversible choice and became someone who could never return. When you fully commit to these 90 days, doing the work, going deep, staying consistent, and doing it all in silence, you will return to the world in a form no one has ever seen before. No need to speak, no need to prove, no need to boast. The transformation will be visible in your eyes, in how you stand, how you walk, how you carry silence with weight amid a noisy crowd. And something strange will happen. The people who once knew you will begin to sense something different. They won't be able to name it, but they'll feel it, because energy doesn't lie. And a person who has walked through 90 days of absolute commitment needs no introduction. They carry a frequency that cannot be mimicked. No one knows how hard it was for you during those tired mornings, those silent nights, where you kept your promise to yourself without a drop of inspiration. No one saw the times you chose the right action in quiet, without reward, without spotlight. But everything you did left a trace, not on social media, but in your presence. The kind the world cannot fake. The aura of someone who keeps their word. The calm of someone who has endured chaos. The sharpness of someone who has disciplined every minute of their life. And then one day you'll step into an old room and see familiar faces. They'll greet you by your old name, but inside you're no longer that person. You'll still smile, still be polite, but you no longer live to be understood, no longer live to be acknowledged. You don't need anyone to see that you've changed, because you know, and that's enough. You become the person you once only imagined in your ideals, a version of you where every decision is filtered through one question. Does this serve the person I'm building? You no longer spend energy on shallow conversations or waste time on things that don't nourish your inner depth. Not because you're cold, but because you've chosen depth over distraction. This return is not loud, it needs no stage effects, because what you've achieved is not success, it's silent strength, a power that doesn't flex, a sharpness that doesn't need words. You no longer seek to stand out, you become irreplaceable simply through the steadiness of everything you do, and the world will eventually notice, but that no longer matters to you. You've gone so far that praise no longer excites you, and criticism no longer hurts. You don't need validation, because you've certified yourself through each uninterrupted day of discipline. The most beautiful part of the 90-day journey isn't the result you achieve, it's the person you've become. You no longer wait for inspiration to act. You no longer delay because things aren't perfect. You act as an extension of who you are, as something rooted, no hesitation, no weighing. You've become a new operating system, grounded, precise, unshakable, and that's what creates a terrifying stillness, a silence not born of having nothing to say, but no longer needing to say it. The results speak for you. This is something only those who've completed the journey will understand. When you emerge from the shadows of quiet commitment, you don't try to impress. You simply exist, and that alone makes people wonder, what happened to him/her? But you don't answer. You don't need to. They don't need details. They just need to feel it. And you know exactly, you've walked through a battlefield they didn't see, and you survived. Not just survived, you evolved, not just stronger, entirely different. You don't return to be seen, you return to continue, silent, focused, unshaken, unbothered. And that's what makes you no longer the old you, but someone no one recognizes except for yourself. Because you have become living proof of what many doubted was possible. Transformation without noise, change without applause. Just you, doing the right thing, repeating it, never stopping, until you no longer need to try to live at a higher standard, because you are the standard now.